Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Michael Weir. I am a technical marketing engineer here at Ingram Micro, and I am here to talk to you today about CMMC 2.0 and where we stand. This is what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about CMMC 1.0, do a little review. We're going to talk about the problems that happen with it. Then we're going to move on to CMMC 2.0, what it is, and some of the differences between them with a real quick conclusion. Not going to be a very long video at all. So quick review. CMMC 1.0 was obviously the start of CMMC. It's what happened after the public comment period on their drafts. The idea was that there would be some piloting in 2020 and 2021, beginning the actual implementation in 2021 and completing it by 2025. There were going to be 5 levels. 1 and 2 were only for FCI, Federal Contract Information. 3 through 5 were for that plus controlling classified information. The controls or practices that were going to be graded in the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, CMMC, were based on NIST 800-171A, but there were also proprietary supplements and changes made to reflect what the DoD, Department of Defense, thought was needed to get up to security standards. And for the levels that you wanted to be at, you had to be assessed by a third-party assessor organization, a C3PAO. Now, there were some problems that happened with this. So number one was just the timing. This implementation did not go as fast as the DoD thought it would. By the time we got to everybody needing the certification, or at least more contracts needing the certification than the first year from your 1,500 up from there, there was less than 20 organizations certified to do these assessments, and they would have to serve all the defense contractors nationwide. That was problem number one. There just plain wasn't enough people to do the assessment. Number two, the problem was money, and this isn't money on the DoD's part. This is money on the part of small contractors, in that if they were to get up to the standards they needed to be for CMMC, it would have been too expensive for them to do it, and they would have been driven out of business. Think about somebody who's building an embassy, and they're pouring the concrete foundation for it. They're looking at controlling classified information because they have a floor plan to an embassy, but can you really expect them to have cybersecurity that is up to the standard of where it needs to be in CMMC to see that controlling classified information? That's kind of what they were talking about there. And then the execution part of it, many partners failed what they called their test assessments. So these were pre-assessments, or these were assessments before we got to the real implementation of the standard. About half of organizations failed, and given that they're supposed to have been self-certifying to NIST 800-171A for all this time, that was somewhat surprising, but there were a lot of little trip-ups and things in the actual cybersecurity maturity model certification that kept them from being able to pass. So in other words, there would have been no DoD contractors to actually fulfill these contracts. It would have been stuck. That was the impetus for revising to CMMC 2.0. So the timeline on this one is it's still in the public comment phase. Generally speaking, public comment phase is anywhere from 9 to 24 months, and the rules aren't finalized until the public comment phase is finished. Think of it like a draft versus going to, turning in your final copy or something for approval to the teacher when you were in school. They've reduced the 5 levels to 3. Really, it's 4. They call it 3. There's level 1 is just for your federal contract information, and then 2 and 3 are for the FCI and the CUI again. All the controls are NIST controls. I say based on NIST, it's because for the most part they literally are NIST. So level 1 and level 2 non-prioritized acquisitions, unlike the old CMMC where everything had to be done by a third-party assessor. Level 1 and level 2 non-prioritized, which that's in quotation marks on the screen because that's their words, those are self-assessed and self-certified. Level 2 prioritized acquisitions and level 3 need assessments. If you're talking about level 2 prioritized acquisitions, a third party has to assess. But if you're talking about level 3, which they define as high value CUI, that is government assessed. So third party assessors are technically, all they're assessing is level 2.5. So that's why I say there's 1, 2, 2.5, and 3. It's really 4 levels, but only 2.0 level 2 prioritized acquisitions are third party assessed. Level 3 is going to be government assessed. And then to help people get into compliance more quickly, a small contractor can file a plan of action milestones. These are actionable things that say, here's what I figured out were my gaps between where I am on the standard and where I need to be. This is my plan of action to get there, and these are the milestones I'm going to do along the way to see that I am getting, concretely towards my goal. And that is going to be acceptable for the first bit of certification here. One other thing to note is in the CMMC 2.0, these are triannual certifications. They aren't constant certifications or every year or something like that. I've already talked about the differences to a certain extent here, but let me just delineate them written out. Um, CMMC 2.0 is going to be a lot more flexible. Because of the plan of action and because of the milestones, it reduces their upfront investment so that as they grow and as they get more contracts, they can move into the security of a higher level. That doesn't mean that they should be ignoring security at any given time. These do have to be actionable milestones. There's actually a form out on the CMMC and NIST websites there that say this is how you should fill this out as an example of what you should write. So it's not something you can just every year just sign off on the form, but it's a way to ease into things. It's also a much more agile model because there's less reliance on third-party assessors. So you're speeding up your assessing in the sense that there's not this choke point or this bottleneck of the number of third-party assessors out there to assess. Only level 2.5 needs them. Everything else is either non-assessed or government assessed. And it's also very streamlined in that there's no more of those proprietary controls, at least right now. I mean, it's in public comment phase, so that might change. But as of right now, everything is NIST based in 1, 2, and 3. So level 2 is your NIST 800-171A. Level 3 is NIST 800-172. But it's all NIST. It's nothing, I don't want to call it weird because some of the stuff that was in the CMMC 1.0 was logical, but it's nothing proprietary that shouldn't already be public knowledge out there. So conclusions on this. First thing you do need to know, though, is that compliance is still going to be required. Yes, it's in public comment phase right now, but eventually compliance is going to be required. As I said before, your plan of action and your milestones, these are not a perpetual solution. These are things that need to be completed. So you've got a little bit of leeway at first, but you need to actually do this thing. And one thing worth noting out of all this is while I say, oh, it's just NIST controls, it's just NIST controls, these aren't simple. They're still complex things that you need to really tune in your environment and very intentionally plan out. And that's why I put on here Ingram Micro Tech Force can help. I am the lead there for security frameworks, and there's a bunch of other really smart people on the team as well. You can email us at any time. You can contact me. The email is cybersecurity@ingrammicro.com, and we welcome all your comments, questions, concerns, feedback, issues you need to raise, and we'll hold your hand along this journey. Thank you very much for joining us today, and have yourselves a good day.